Hello, my name is Maiko the Mighty, and welcome to another video. Today we're looking at another in the series, looking at the break bar and how to actually break that Defiance bar. And we're actually going to be looking from the Revenant's point of view. Now, the Revenant is one of the classes that has the best ability to remove a huge chunk of the Defiance bar. And not only that, it actually has multiple skills available to the Revenant that can actually break, especially the Defiance bar with raid bosses, big world bosses, you know, particularly, for example, Verdant Brink, if you're trying to break the Withens before they actually fly away. If you're looking at Veil Guardian, Gorseval, the Revenant has a primary role in the raid aspect, and it's usually to do with this. It's the staff, and they have a couple of skills actually. There is two skills. There is this skill here, Punishing Sweep, which is your first initial hit, which you sweep your staff at your foe, and then you get access to Debilitating Slam, which is the second part, which is a half-second daze. So it's not a complete, massive, huge amount done to the Defiance bar, but it still does that extra little bit. But it's this skill 5 here. Charge forward, knocking back enemies that cross your path. This is Surge of the Mists. Now, you might think, well, okay, it's 120 knockback. But what you want to be looking at is right underneath where it says knockback, it's the number of impacts. You're talking 8 impacts. Now, if you can hit it pretty much bang on, now it will involve positioning. What you'll be doing is you'll be doing a knockback 8 times, and that is where this skill is phenomenal. So for example, if I line it up here, you'll see I'm going to use skill 5, and this is what happens. You do all those knockbacks, so you get that initial space. So you want to be focusing where the enemy's just around that point there, because if it's too close, you'll go past it, and most of the knockback you'll actually miss. Also, if you're not exactly lined up, say for example we're trying to, coincidentally we have a Veil Guardian statue here, but say for example you're lined up here, you might go past it and miss most of the boss as well. So you have to keep, if you're a Revenant, Surge of the Mist bang on. Now, if you're going through an enemy, what you want to be lined up is, you have it lined up roughly here. There is another ability that you might not have realised that does also amount of removal of the Defiance bar, and that is this Chaotic Release. Again, if you look below the super speed, you get a 360 launch, which is this big launch here, and again, that's where you can see the AoE we actually had of that. But imagine this circle, this statue here is the Veil Guardian. This is the sort of range you want to be having, because again, you'll get that huge amount of well, and you can see the distance that you actually get is exactly between those two Veil Guardians. So even though I was back here, you actually end up all the way over here. So one of the things that, people ask me about, I have a very weird build. This character here, he's actually my super tank. He's got toughness, vitality, healing power, which is Ventari's gear, and you very rarely see that. All of the signets, as the trinkets are, toughness, vitality, healing power. So I end up actually, if you pop the facet here, I end up with a toughness of 2,600, which is phenomenal. And that is consistently 2,600. So I tend to tank in Veil Guardian. I don't use this actually for Gorseval. I actually use different profession. But for Veil Guardian, I tank all the time. And the reason being, it gives me that survivability that the Chrono Tank doesn't generally have as much in the Veil Guardian fight. And this is where, even though, one of the primary roles of this is to provide a lot of support, I'll be pumping out the Facet of Nature and the ability to pump out healing. My healing is actually pretty significant, and I'll be able to use Fury and Might. So, for example, if I have a Chronomancer in my raid group, then I'll be pumping out a lot of boons to them. So that's another thing that the Revenant's very, very useful for boon sharing. If you are a Revenant in a raid situation, you want to be keeping up Facet of Nature at all times. But if you're out generally in the world and you're in the PvE scenario, you want to be trying to pump out a lot of boons up actually as much as possible. Gaze of Darkness and Burst of Strength that happens are quite interesting. So you're pumping out, you can see here we've got Might and Fury, and this is great for if you're trying to break do the Defiance bar. These two skills both, I don't think blindness on some bosses doesn't actually affect the break bar. So you can see here, we're looking at the break bar. We've got the skill 5, the skill 2. If we go into this one, I'm actually running a sword shield formation or combo. But what we actually have as well, we got the hammer skill. Now the hammer 5 is a big knockdown as well. The 3, the 2, and the 1 don't do anything at all. So what we're going to do, we're going to swap on to the hammer, which I actually have the Juggernaut. And you can see it all nice and shiny. But the skill 5, it's a bit of a cast time. You actually look at the cast time, it's 1 3/4 seconds. It's almost 2 seconds. So it is you do need to time it right, and that's the slam. And it's a knockdown, a 2-second knockdown, so it's pretty hefty. But again, if you can bind it with glint, you will be doing a significant amount of CC available. The difference between, for example, the staff CC and the Facet of Chaos CC and the Drop the Hammer CC is this is a ranged CC. You can see it's got a long range on this, pretty substantial range, and you can do, particularly think of those Patriarch or Matriarch fights in Verdant Brink. This is fantastic for breaking the Defiance bar in that situation. But that's not all. We actually have another weapon that we can actually use. So let's take the axe. The axe is in the offhand, and although we get access to chill with frigid blitz, it's a soft CC, which means it will be doing a little bit of Defiance bar damage. It's the skill 5. The skill 5 is actually, it pulls in enemies. And this is quite useful. And again, it depends on... Certain bosses actually don't get pulled by this. It doesn't actually state it correctly in the description there. But, if you time it right, you will actually do damage to the Defiance bar. Just to demonstrate, it's the skill 5 here, and the idea is the rift pulls people in. It doesn't actually state that in the description though, which is kind of weird. But let's actually have a look at as well, what else can the Revenant do to affect the break bar? Well, we've got here some skills. This is the Malinx, the legendary demon stance. And if we look here, there isn't really too much that we actually get here. We get Chilled, which is obviously a soft CC, but nothing else. I know you get Torment as well. So Malinx doesn't really do much. Well, let's have a look at what else have we got. Let's go to Shiro. Now, Shiro has a phenomenal ability. If people play PvP on the Revenant, you will know this quite well. Now, this skill 6 doesn't do anything, neither does the skill Riposting Shadows. That's an evasion, for those of you wondering, this is that. And the next skill isn't anything particularly fantastic either, to do with the Defiance bar, and neither is Impossible Odds. However, we come to Jade Wings. Jade Wings is a phenomenal way to actually break a lot of the Defiance bar. Now, the problem for Revenants is that if you are a Herald, which obviously is the elite specialization, that's where you'll get access to the elite skill. Where you have Jade Wings is on the core Revenant, and you can actually do this, and it's a 3-second stun, and it takes again a lot out of the Defiance bar. Now the downside is it is an elite skill, so it will take a lot of your energy. You'll see here you drop down to 2%. And you want to be best change out and get back into another Defiance board, another Dragon Stance, another stance, to get your energy back up to 50%. So let's actually have a look what else we've got. We actually have the legendary Dwarven Stance. Well, let's change over to that. Now, what CC skills have we got there? Well, you've got Right of the Great Dwarf. That doesn't do anything because that actually protects you. You've also got your healing skill and the stability skill, which is Inspiring Reinforcement. That's the road. And you've got the Vengeful Hammers, which again actually releases these hammers. They don't actually do anything regarding the Defiance bar. This skill, however, does. Forced Engagement. Now, this is a taunt. A taunt actually does remove sections of the Defiance bar. So this is, for example, when you looked at some of the betas and when everyone was running Revenant, they'd all be using these chains on the Wyvern that was trying to fly away, and they'll be doing damage to the Defiance bar. So this is pretty useful for eliminating Defiance bar if you're trying to get it quickly. If you're in hammer form and you've used the AE hammer, get on your Forced Engagement, and that will help to actually remove a lot of the Defiance bar. So you can see here we go back into Dragon Stance. There are a couple of others. We actually have the Centaur Stance. Sorry, the only one left is the Centaur Stance because we've already seen the other 3. And so let's actually go into this. This is Ventari's stance. And we get the stone. Now, if we actually... This is generally a healing stone. There's nothing that you actually get with the healing stone at all. You actually get a protective barrier you can get here. That doesn't do anything for the Defiance bar either. Which is actually quite useful, though, for a raiding, for those of you looking at the new raid. We need to collapse that, otherwise we'll lose on our energy. With this, collect energy, pulling it to the tablet to build up his power. Again, this is another healing skill. And removal conditions. So again, the Ventari's build doesn't really do anything apart from this one. And this is energy expulsion. So force energy to erupt from the tablet, knocking back nearby foes and leaving energy fragments that heal allies. So it's a 450 knockback. It's a pretty big knockback. It's also a blast finisher. So you see here, it explodes, knocks people back, and you actually get these fragments dotted around everywhere as well. So if you are looking at running a Ventari build in raids, then this is actually another way in which you can get a significant amount of knockbacks. If you think about this, you plonk a tablet down, for example, not that you really want to run this build in against the Veil Guardian, but you put the tablet down, and say the Veil Guardian, you need to break the Defiance bar, or even Gorseval, for example. You're trying to break the Defiance bar on Gorseval. You put the tablet right where Gorseval is. You come down with your hammer skill. You know, you explode him there with the tablet, and then you go into the staff form, and then you go through with the staff. And that would get pretty much most of the Defiance bar taken care of. The Revenant is phenomenal at taking care of the Defiance bar. It's got a lot of different options, and it really does have some phenomenal abilities that are well worth taking. And if, you know, generally, there are 2 classes, and there are 2 skills in particular that actually do affect the Defiance bar more than anything else. The first one is the skill 5 on the staff of the Revenant. The other one will be Slick Shoes for Engineer, but the 2 together will remove a lot of Defiance bars in most situations in the entire game of Guild Wars 2. So if you are looking again, you know, keep an eye on the Defiance bar. It is something that you really do need to pay attention to because it will make your enemy vulnerable. It will give you increased damage. It may even, you know, in certain situations like Veil Guardian, it will actually mean the end of the enemy. So there are situations where removing the Defiance bar is pretty useful, and so you should do it at all costs. And if you are playing a Revenant, these are some of the skills that you should be aware of that will actually help you in removing the Defiance bar, and meaning you'll actually kill the boss a lot quicker. I hope these guys have been useful. If there are any other professions that you'd like me to cover, please leave them in the comment section below and I'll get them on them as soon as possible. But for now, thanks for watching my video. Please feel free to leave any other comments and I'll see you on the next one.